right, and good morning, and welcome into another episode, or edition, or however you want to look at it, of Dude's Hockey Hotline. I am your host every Saturday morning at 10 a.m., and as always, sitting to my right or left, however you're looking at it on the screen, is Beyond716. Man, I keep wanting to call you by your government name, but, you know, I should be used to that with student by now, right?
Student. No, I'm kidding.
Hold on, you were muted, Brian. Go ahead.
Oh, I said I have many government-issued names like student does, so it depends on what day of the week it is.
Yes, absolutely. But no, welcome in. We had I don't want to say a wonderful week of hockey because the Sabres only got a couple of points this week. But they did stay right in contention there in the standings. They kept themselves in a good spot. They showed some heart throughout the week. So I mean, that's definitely, you know, something that's huge, in my opinion, and going to go a long way later in the system, or later in the season. So, with that being said, Brian, I mean, what do you think, or Beyond, what do you think?
Oh, no problem. You can call me whichever name you like. It's perfectly good with me. Listen, I think there are two forces at play here, right? There's the force of the Sabres have missed the playoffs for 13 straight years. As soon as we see two losses, we want to gravitate to the negative, right? And that's perfectly understandable. I understand if you're a Sabre fan out there, you feel that way at times when anything goes wrong. I will not sit here and scold you for that, right? This team has given us a lot of reasons to be frustrated over the last almost decade and a half. But if you look deeper at the way the Sabres played, I mean, especially, just going back last week to San Jose, right, on the West Coast trip. I mean, 3-for-3 in California, which was incredible. And then Wednesday night against the Minnesota Wild, that's one of those games, Matt, where you just got to – it's probably maybe 4 to 6 games a year, maybe less, where you just got to tip your stick to the goalie. I mean, Gustafsson was incredible. I mean, we threw everything –
We put the 3 stars out, and Gustafsson was our first star. Because he truly stood on his head for the Wild, because there was so many chances. Look at the one with, I think, what was it, like 2 or 3 minutes left with Tage Thompson right in the slot there.
Yep.
I wish he would have passed it to Peterka because he was wide open. Probably would have buried it, but I mean, that's also too. You want the puck on Tage's stick, and you want him to shoot that. Like as much as we sit here and say, hey, this guy's hindsight's 20/20, but. That's definitely the right thing that he did, is to shoot that. But again, he stood on his head. I mean, you can't really say much more about that. Go ahead and finish your point, Brian. I do apologize.
No. That's excellent. No, but that game, I mean, we outshot Minnesota 39-29. They blocked. We blocked 14 shots. They blocked 32. So you could kind of tell how the Sabres played, right? They were playing fast, loose, and we controlled a lot of that game. And if you sat there and took the score off the screen and just watched most of that game, you're like, oh, the Sabres win this 9 times out of 10, right?
Absolutely.
But again, I mean, Gustafsson's been great, and the great Kirill Kaprizov got it started, and that's all they needed. And that's just one of those games. It's unfortunate we couldn't at least earn a point in that kind of effort, but that's just how hockey goes. And then,
the tough thing is, especially with the way that game ended, or that started, 16-4 in the first period in shots. They scored on a horrible giveaway, and they went on a 4-on-1 rush, and Eriksson Ek, got it to Kaprizov, and one of the best hockey players in the world buried it behind UPL. No other goals were given up. So I mean, you can't. That's like going back to when the Sabres had Drury, Briere, or Vanek, and Roy or anything. You put it on those guys' sticks, you're probably talking more times than not they're scoring on a 4-on-1, 3-on-1, 2-on-1, anything like that. So, I mean, you can't be mad about that. And again, Gustafsson stood on his head, and there wasn't anything that they could do about it, unfortunately.
100%, right? And it's, again, sometimes off of a West Coast trip, when you go opposite coast, when the team comes home, that first game, a lot of times the team is sluggish. We've seen that in a lot of instances, but Buffalo did not have that, right? We played really, really well, and I credit Ruff and the staff for the preparation. It's just one of those nights. You just say, hey, but you think to yourself, if the Sabres keep playing with that kind of effort consistently for the most part all season, the goals are going to start falling. I mean, even guys like Jack Quinn, you can see he's getting close. I mean, Matt, I feel like this guy could have had a goal a game the last 3 or 4 games, maybe 2. He's been really, and you just know sooner or later it's going to start falling. So it's just about rough finding
consistency.
That right message.
Consistency.
Yeah. Say, hey guys, hang in there. It's okay. That those nights are going to happen, especially a young team like the Sabres. That's still, we are the youngest roster in the league. We're still trying to find learn how to win, right? Those little, the little nuances of the game that, if you watch teams like the Washington Capitals right now, right? Washington Capitals are not as talented as the Sabres. I'm going to tell you that right now. But the Washington Capitals have a veteran-laden team, and they understand those little things, and that's why the Capitals consistently are still up there, right? Even teams like we're going to play tonight, the Islanders, loaded with veterans. They understand. They may not be pretty, but they find those ways to win. And I think we'll get there if we continue to push forward and play the way.
And that's the thing. That's the nice thing about, because you talk about veterans or savvy veterans or anything like that, any word for veteran that anybody wants to use. At this point, a lot of the guys on the Sabres are veterans. Look at Dylan Cousins. Look at Tage Thompson. They Tage Thompson was here with Eichel. Just because you're 24, 25 years old doesn't mean you're not a veteran. I'll sit here and say that, and these guys got to step up and start learning to win. And I really think years past they didn't. Yes, we'll get to it here in a little bit, but yesterday's game they were down by 2, down 3-1. I did not think that they would be able to come back from that. I did not, playing one of the best teams in hockey in Vancouver. I did not see them coming back and tying that game. They were up 1-0 until they tied it in the second period. And they scored 2 quick ones in the third, and the Sabres were able to come back and tie it and at least salvage a point out of that. As well as they played in that, they should have been able to win that game. But I don't like to say I'll take the loser point, but against a team like that, against a team like the Wild, you want to take a look at it, and you got the 2 points against San Jose. You got nothing against the Wild. You got 1 point against Vancouver. If I told you we got 1 more point against the Wild, even if they come down in 3 seconds into overtime, they pot a goal. Okay, fine. We still got a point. You still got 4 points on the week that we talked about last week, and we wanted to see 5, but I'll settle for 4 because that still gets you 4 points and still starts building you and continuing to build.
Absolutely. And, yesterday, Matt, let me ask you, during this drought, once Vancouver took that 3-1 lead, during the drought, you just turn that game off. It's over. 11 minutes.
I literally, I hate saying it, but I literally walked into my kitchen, started, messing some stuff around, and then, I had it up high enough to hear it because obviously you still want to listen to it. You still want to be, involved in it, but I had to go do some dishes and things like that. I'm like, it's probably the perfect time to go do this. Let me get that out of the way.
Yeah.
So, turn the volume up, went and did the, some of the dishes, and, I heard the goals. Heard it, and I'm like, oh, let me turn the faucets off and go sit back and watch because it's now 3-2, and then it's 3-3, and they got so unfortunately it was and it ended 4-3, but we'll take that because the name of the game is points, right? You got 82 games in a season. Nobody's gonna get 164 points. It's unheard of. I think, Boston had one of the best teams that I've ever seen in my entire life. I've been watching hockey since I was, 2-3 years old. I was on the ice, at 2 and 3 years old. So, it just, excuse me.
No problem.
I've been watching hockey a very long time, and you don't see that very often.
Yep. Absolutely. And again, yesterday was a little bit similar to the game on Wednesday. We outshot Vancouver 34-22, right?
Yep.
Again, I'd like to see a little more physicality. They've been a little lighter on the physicality the last couple games, but good enough, right? But again, they find a way. You come back, and at the end of the game, they played a well-structured game to get that. They took some chances, but they were responsible defensively enough to get that to overtime. Again, a Western Eastern Conference opponent. Both teams probably said, "Hey, let's get to overtime and get the point." Right? They're not hurting each other in the standings. It was Vancouver, but you take those, like you said, Matt. Right? We did that against St. Louis, right? We did that even against San Jose, I believe. Right? We took those points, right? So,
right
now going forward, but can I say something though? I hate
Yeah,
San.
absolutely.
I am not a big fan of 3-on-3 just because of the possession. It drives me crazy. Like Vancouver had the puck for 3 solid minutes
Mm-hmm.
when they first got. Now they didn't score there. We countered and had a great golden chance to win it. But then, of course, Vancouver comes back and Garland buries the game winner. And like you said, it was disappointing. I was really hoping we would have grinded out that win for a
Mm-hmm.
couple of reasons, especially the last couple of games, Matt. The Sabres have had almost full houses in the arena, which was nice to see, right? It was a Thanksgiving weekend. You're like, and this is a
Yep.
great time for Sabre fans who, let's be honest, they've been skeptical, right, of us
Mm-hmm.
lately. And it's like, Lindy Ruff's back in the house. So, there's a little buzz in the building. It would have been nice to see some W's to get the fans
Yeah.
coming back. But we'll see how that translates over. But
See, and that's the thing. Like, and I truly think it is different between, and that's one of the things we always talk about here and compare, NHL or Bills to Sabres, things like that. But I truly
yeah,
think that hockey, Sabres hockey, is different than Bills football. And I don't mean that as the John Madden, hey, if you score more points than the other team, you're going to win, that type
yeah,
of thing. But what I truly mean is when the Sabres are playing that good physical type hockey, even if it's 4-3. 3-2, 1-0. The fans, I think, are going to come back and watch that good brand of hockey because that's what we've been clamoring for is watching like compete and try and everything else. Because it just seems like teams before even yes, Don Granato had them playing at a level that was better than before, but it still you didn't see that compete on a night in night out basis like you're seeing right now.
yep,
Lindy Ruff, if you're not having that high level of compete, get out of the line. I'm taking you out of the lineup.
yep,
He's putting you in the press box, and that's one of the things I love about Lindy is, he doesn't put up with that. You're
100%.
either gonna play up here and or play the game that I know you're capable of playing on a night in night out basis, or you're sitting up top.
Yep. Yep. And, listen, although, we're sitting here saying, yes, good efforts by the Sabres generally the last couple games, but you and I both know at this level, at the top of the top, it's results, right? Results,
Mm-hmm.
results. And this is where I think Lindy's important. Maybe Don Granato was the kind of coach where he would give a message like, guys, just, you're doing good. Keep going, right? Kind of like an encouragement, which I get, but I think right now the Sabres need something a little different, right? I'm sure Lindy's message may not be as kind in some respects, even though they are playing well the last couple games. Because, right, results
Mm-hmm.
are the ultimate. And if this team really wants to take that next step, again, we got a tough one tonight. Another third game and 4-night stretch tonight. I'm sure we're going to see James Reimer in the pipes tonight for the Sabres. Again, against a team that we're probably going to be competing for a playoff spot. So, right, I'm curious to see how they react tonight and how they come
Yeah.
out. Like, they can't be too complacent here. Say, okay, great, we're just playing well. Let's just keep doing it. No, they have to dig even deeper. And that's what separates the teams middling in the standings versus teams towards the top consistently. And that goes for every sport.
Mm-hmm. And before we move on too much because I want to talk about the stuff that we like the Sharks in the Wild. I know we touched on the Wild a little bit. I know we touched on, but I want to kind of go through the games a little bit to kind of talk about everything. But I want to touch on that 3-on-3 point. I'm not against it. I don't hate it like you do. But the one thing I'd love to know is because you typically don't see when they have the possession of the puck for 2, 3, 4 minutes. You don't typically see teams scoring like that. You see them more on a breakdown, on a rush, or they're so tired that because they were on the ice for 3 minutes that they a bad line change, or where they have whatever. Like look at the other night against the Ducks. Mm-hmm. Like the Sabres kept control, but they didn't have, and the Ducks had control for a little bit, and they didn't have, and then. You had Tuck come down on that beautiful play he made, and then it was Kulich who scored. On the rush basically. So I would like to see what the actual data breakdown of that is to see if how often you're scoring when you have that possession, because I think if it was like you score more on rushes in the 3-on-3 hockey, I think you might see teams maybe push to have those rushes a little bit more and
Yeah.
things like that rather than just control the puck. But
Yep.
I mean, like I said, that's all data sets and things like that. But that would be an interesting one to look at just to take a look. But with that being said, let's talk about let's start on last Saturday. We had the show. I did say it was going to be 5-2 Sabres. It was only 4-2, so I was
You were
wrong.
close, yeah.
But
you were better than me. I had the Sharks winning that game. So,
you did have the Sharks winning, but we did, like I said, we did get the 2 points in that game. We did talk about it. They did get that, Joe Thornton bump where they came out on fire. They played really well. The Sharks did anyways. They played, high level hockey right with the Sabres all the way basically till the end of the game when the Sabres won. So, what did you see from that game specifically that kind of goes along with how they played against Minnesota, how they played against, the Canucks.
Canucks, yeah. Listen, first thing, one of the pain points the Sabres have had the last couple of years is the backup goaltending situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Eric Comrie was awful last year. What was he, 2-7-1, I believe, or something like that?
2-8-1.
2-8-1. I mean, it kind of reminds me of Patrick Lalime back in the days when he literally cost us a playoff spot. When he went, I think 1-11 or one. It was an awful record, right? So
hold on Reimer, 1 second. Right? Hold that thought. I want to say something real quickly. How weird is it? How weird is it that as bad as Patrick Lalime was for a lot of his career, he held that record with the Penguins from his rookie year for the most wins in a row or something like that. Yeah,
yes.
How did that happen?
It's just it's sometimes hockey. Maybe wins are
hockey's stupid. Thanks, Chad.
Yeah. Shout out to Chad. I think that's going to be our tradition every week, right? I think Chad, right? We always need to get a graphic made with Chad's face on it, right? Hockey stupid, Chad DeVos, right? Hey, get the gears going, right?
Whatever.
But you're right though. Maybe they say wins are not a quarterback stat, or maybe wins aren't a goalie stat in some cases too, right? And that's an example. But even so, though, I do think the Sabres have lacked that stable, solid number 2 vet, and you want your vet to be a 500 guy. That's how I look at it, right? I mean, even the Rangers have Jonathan Quick, guys like that. I mean, he's obviously more, his pedigree is much higher, but you want your backup to be, 10-8, 10-9, just somewhere in the middle where you can hang tight, get some points. And Reimer put in an excellent performance. I mean, that save he made, I believe.
Oh my God, the one where he
awesome. Where he went back with the. It was awesome. But he kept us in that game. I mean, San Jose was buzzing early, like you said, from the Joe Thornton ceremony, which was great, by the way. But again, the Sabres hung tight, right? I mean, what I liked is when Zetterlund scored to start, boom, Peyton Krebs comes back and scores, right? That's something else we've done pretty well this year, Matt. I feel like sometimes a goal comes against us, and the response is pretty quick, and I like to see that.
Well, years past, it's been the opposite, where we see a goal where the Sabres get a little bit of momentum, they go up 3-2 or 2-1, and then the other team comes right down and they score, or the Sabres tie the game and then they go back, the other team goes back up. So it's nice to see that they're responding the way that they've been over the past couple of weeks with in response to that, in regards to that specifically.
100%. So we earn it, and then of course Cousins is nice to see him. I mean, he had a goal yesterday too. We'll get to that, but on Saturday, so it's nice to see Cousins kind of coming to life, and ever since Ruff, like you said, he moved him to wing, and maybe it was a little message he sent to him. We're just trying to get him around. I mean, Ruff's been moving him all over the place, so maybe that's got him going a little bit. Well, and then Alex Tuck, I mean, shorthanded. He's what a shorthanded player he is. Tuck is always a threat, and just a huge goal.
Yeah. I mean, in that Sharks game, like that was the one that put us up, 3-2, and basically gave us the lead, and they didn't look back from there. But to touch on the goaltenders for a second, I mean, we haven't seen a good backup goaltender since we lost Baron, right? So. Yeah. Back in the late 2000s, or the late 2000s before it turned to 2010s. I mean, and it's unfortunate because you got to have that secondary guy. You don't need him to be. I'm a little bit different where I want my secondary goalie to be around that 600% or not 600%. That's that like 63% or 60%, maybe not, as low as you said in the the 50% or, whatever, or 500 range or whatever you want to look at it. But I truly do think that you need that goalie. And I don't think you need somebody as good as, like, say, Allmark or Swayman like the Bruins had the past couple of years, where it's like whoever goes in, they're a starting goaltender. I don't think you need that, but I do think you need a solid guy back there that is going to be able to stand on their head every once in a while in a game that it's called for. Kind of how Reimer did against the Sharks, and kind of steal a couple of games for you. When you can't play UPL, or if Devin Levi comes up or anything like that. You can't have in today's hockey, you can't have two starting goaltenders. You can't have two elite goaltenders that you're going to be kind of playing. That's why you saw the Bruins have to trade Allmark when they were going through the whole thing with Swayman and everything like that. But it kind of comes down to it where you got to have that guy. You do have to have that guy. You can't go this 2-8-1 or, horrible, have a horrible record, or put so much strain on your offense that you have to, worry about having the offense score 5, 6, 7 goals, because you're going to give up 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And just to have that, I like having a James Reimer as a backup. I mean, Devin Levi, I know we spoke a lot about him, right? And Devin Levi's a guy, I don't think he's wired to be a backup goaltender, especially at this point in his career, right? He's the kind of guy that there are certain goalies that need volume, right? I think Dominic Hasek at the highest level was like that, right? When Dominic Hasek was getting peppered with shots, he actually got better, right? And there's certain goalies I think are like that. And Levi, when he's sitting on the bench, and that's why he needed to go to Rochester. So, and I'm getting more comfortable when I watch UPL lately, Matt. I mean, not to pivot, but I'm getting more comfortable with the idea. If the Buffalo Sabres are big game hunting, and if somebody wants Devin Levi, if it's the right guy, Matt, that maybe has good term, that maybe could give us 3, 4, 5 excellent years to help this group of this core, I think, that's ready to bust out. I'm not gonna be shy about it. I feel comfortable with UPL as our number one, and I don't know how you feel about that, but I'm getting to that point.
I do feel like a little bit. Like, I'm not saying go out and trade Devin Levi, but if it's the right package and things like that, but also too, I'm of the mind you need to have those guys in the system, because like we talked about last week, how many goaltenders actually show anything or are really any good before the age of 24, 25 years old?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Devin Levi's what, 22 right now?
Yeah. And that's really the magic age. I mean, our good friend Dale, I always talk about, right? And he said it. Between 24 and 26. I mean, we talked about Sam Reinhart. We talked about the guys that we've traded away, and that's when they mature, right, into better hockey players. Not just scoring.
Casey
Middlestat, Jack Eichel. Now, Jack Eichel was a different animal, but we'll leave that alone. But you see that, right? Especially with the goaltenders, right? And that's why we got to stick with these guys. We can't just, we just got to ship them out of town. Unless there's a real contract issue, right? Or something where they just don't want to be here. That's one thing. But
and that's the thing. Like if you told me, in an hour from now, with running this show and everything like that, you told me an hour from now that the Sabres traded for Connor McDavid and they gave up Devin Levi and a couple other things, fine.
Yeah.
Who am I to say? Really? But if it's like somebody like a Brock Besser, I'm probably going to be like, I'm going to pull back on that. I might be okay with it, but after a few days, but whatever. But I probably wouldn't be the one to be like, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Like that. I think that you need to have those pieces in the system, because I truly think that, and the Sabres, like, go out and maybe trade one of the other guys that's a little bit younger than Devin Levi, or, one of the other goalies we have in the system, rather than trading Devin Levi, because I truly think that, when he hits that 24, 25, 26 years old, and UPL's contract is done, when he's 30, 28, 29, 30, you may see him, come back down a little bit. I don't think he's going to be one of the ones that's just like, goes and stands on his head until he's 35, 36 years old.
Yep.
But I think you need to have that guy in the system.
Absolutely. And Ukko's got a very solid deal. I mean, $4.7 million the next 4 years. I mean, and let's just talk about him in this. Talk about age. He was drafted in 2017, Matt. How long we've had Ukko-Pekka? How long have we been talking about UPL in our system, right?
Yeah.
A long time. Look how
7 years.
It took him.
7
Yeah,
years.
it took him 6. I felt like he was the forever. I used to joke that he's the forever prospect in our system, right? Like, just wait till you see Ukko-Pekka and he's going to be good, right?
And he's the type of player. He's the type of player, like, comparing it again to like the NFL. He's that prototypical goaltender. He's 6'4". He's fast. He's quick. He really good glove hand. Very good on his pads in the butterfly, and you don't want to give up on a player like that either. But it was starting to look like that, unfortunately. I was like, because I thought he was going to be one of those good goaltenders, but it was just like, at this point, maybe trade him and see what you can get for him. And then last year comes around and he's standing on his head. He's tracking, like, after December and into January, when he won the player of the month and everything like that, and he really started coming into his own, getting more shots and getting like you just said, getting peppered with those shots. He seemed to start to track the puck better and everything like that. So
that light bulb just went off, right? Sometime a little bit last year, right, where it just came together for him, and he got consistent minutes. That's the other thing too, and that's maybe that was Ukko's problem too in the beginning, right? He was getting shuffled up and down between Rochester. That's what Devin Levi's going through right now, and Levi's just got to stay the course as well, just like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen does, and maybe his day comes with the Sabres at some time, or maybe he goes to another organization. We'll have to find out and see how that all transpires.
Yeah, I truly think that you're probably going to see a very similar situation to what happened in Boston. Is the Sabres are going to have to end up making a choice, and I think it's going to depend on who's the better goaltender at that time. 100%. But I think that you're going to have a team that is on the cusp of something, like the Senators thought they were, and I'm sure that they were like, we want either Swayman or Ullmark. Pick one.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, with that being said, let's move on to the Minnesota Wild. We had our 3 stars of the game there: Gustafsson, Kaprizov, and then UPL. I mean, you can't. We were just talking about him, but you can't say much more about the job UPL's done in those games to keep the Sabres in those type of games. And it's against a team like the Wild that has all the firepower in the world. They might not have a McDavid or a Draisaitl, but they got a Kaprizov, and he's pretty good.
He's amazing. And just about UPL, they had the stat on during the game yesterday. UPL's number 1 in goals against and save percentage in the NHL since November, in the whole month of November. So let's give a tip of the stick to UPL. I mean, he got off to a rough start this year, had a couple rough starts, but he's been excellent this month of November. So, Again, that's just one of those games. 29 saves that game, or 28 saves. I mean, he made some nice saves. I mean, he didn't make earth-shattering saves or anything, but he kept it. Again, 8.5.
I mean, there was a couple. There was a couple.
That's true. I mean, that effort, you're going to win most of the time, maybe 8 to 9 times. I mean, you're definitely going to. So, I mean, it's just, but he kept us in that game. It could have gotten away from us, and that's all you can expect out of your goalies, to give us a chance to win, right? And UPL's gonna, he's gonna steal games for us too, just like Gustafsson has. And Gustafsson's been, I mean, he's almost he's high level this year. I mean, he's been doing that all season for the Wild, and they got an excellent defense. They're a good counter team, so that's exactly what they did against us in that game.
Well, so I was just going through the stats here real quickly. I mean, you had Eriksson Ek, 4 shots on goal. He had a point. Kaprizov had the 1 goal, 3 shots on. Had the 1 goal, with 3 shots on goal. And there really wasn't a lot of other, like Hartman had 2, Johansson had 2. Let's talk about Rossi for a second. What is going on with him, man? Like, cause he's. If I was the Sabres, I might be trying to pull him from the Wild if you could put a package together, as a top 6 forward, because you need somebody. You need to find somebody, and we were talking about this the other day. You're not going to go get a Sidney Crosby or a Malkin or a McDavid or any of those guys. You could if the price is right, I guess, but you need somebody that's going to be in the top 6, that's going to be able to have a little bit of term. That's also why I saw yesterday too. Somebody brought up the point of Hoagland from the Canucks. Don't let him leave. Don't let him get on the plane.
Yeah, stay
pull one of those Boston Pride situations where are
you ready for this? Or Mario Williams situation for those Bills fans out there, right? Where he came to Buffalo, we would let him leave for 3 days, and then he signed with us for $100 million. If you remember that, But it's funny you mentioned Marco Rossi. He was picked right after Jack Quinn. And I remember at the time there were some debates on Sabres boards about that pick. A lot of there's some Sabres that really wanted Rossi. I was kind of in that group too. I liked him a lot coming into the draft, and I like Quinn too. I'm not saying, but that's interesting that you brought that up, and that's been it was definitely debate. There was also Cole Perfetti in that draft too. Yeah. So that was a very.
I wanted Perfetti, but unfortunately,
listen to picks after Jack Quinn here. I'm just going to go through really quick. Rossi, Perfetti, the phenom goalie on San Jose, Yaroslav Askarov went 11th. Anton Lundell on Florida, who I really like, went 12. At 13, Seth Jarvis to the Carolina Hurricanes. So there were a lot of good players picked right after Jack Quinn. So I'm not saying the Sabres. I don't want to say the Sabres missed. I'm not giving up.
No, I don't either, because I truly think that, we said it a couple weeks ago. Like, he hadn't played, other than like 3-4 games last year. He hadn't played since basically July of last year, and now we're a year and a half out, and you're literally just seeing him, start to come back after. It's the same thing we talk about with, Student and I talked about Matt Milano last night. He basically has not been on the field in almost 2 full seasons.
It's a long time, yeah. How much could we really expect, right? And the same with Jack Quinn. He's been off the ice for a while. He's had some pretty significant injuries. He's rounding in the form. If you watched him this week, right, you would think, wow, Jack Quinn's having a really good season. Maybe he's in double digits in points, and if you didn't look at the stats, but they're just not showing up on the score sheet yet. So again, he's another player. Stay the course, keep playing the way you're playing, and the goals will start falling.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, against the Wild, he had 6 shots, no points, no goals. He had a couple good scoring chances. Against the Sharks, he had let's see here what he had. He had 1 shot against the Sharks. Last night against the Canucks, he had, where'd he go? He had 2. So, I mean, he's shooting the puck. Like, he truly is. And it comes down to it is he's got to hit the net more. That's really 100%. What it comes down to. I don't have his shot attempted on me right this second, but you saw him shooting the puck. But just like your buddy there joked, when's Dylan Cousins going to start hitting the net? Literally against the Sharks, Dylan Cousins hit the net 8 different times.
Yep.
So, I mean, these guys just got to start hitting the net, and whether it's taking better shots, whether it's taking that extra quarter of a second to, make sure that you're putting the puck where you want to. And here's the thing. Stop trying to be so fancy. That's one of the things I hate about this day and age of hockey. Everybody wants to go bar down. Who the fuck cares? Excuse my language, but who the fuck cares? Seriously. Who cares? Like, why are we trying to go bar down? And put the puck in the net.
Yep.
Put the puck in the net. That's all that matters. It doesn't have to be fancy. You get the shot on net. It squeaks, because we've seen it multiple times against the Sabres. It squeaks through an arm or something like that, and then your guy's right there in the front of the net to put the puck in the net. Sure, you don't get the goal, but guess what? You get the shot and the shot attempt, and you put it on net, and you get the assist because it's not an unassisted goal, so you still get a point out of it. Like, put the puck on the net. That's all that matters, because if you I get the whole Wayne Gretzky thing. You don't hit 100% of the shots you don't take, or you miss 100. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Mm-hmm. It's the same type of thing. You're gonna miss 100% of the shots that you don't hit the net with.
Yep.
Like, look at the heady play that Zach Benson made. With Bowen Byram. Mm-hmm. Like, it's beautiful goal. He sauced it right over. Instead of shooting it on the net, he put it towards the net and let his player put he got it in the vicinity, and that's all that truly matters is. But if you're hitting the glass, if you're hitting the the boards or anything, you're not going to be able to have a tip in, or you're not going to be able to have it bounce off a player's leg or a skate or anything like that and go in the net.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, it's funny you mentioned, like you said, look at some of the goals that Jason Zucker scores, right? And even like Alex Tuck the other day, like some of the goals, they're in front of the net. They're making things happen. Like you said, just it doesn't have to be pretty. And I think that comes with experience with some of these players. But just to give you an idea, I was looking at the shooting percentages of the Sabres. I mean, a normal shooting percentage for a good goal scorer is about 15 to 17%, give or take. You know what Jack Quinn is this year? 2.8%. I mean, sooner or later, even Dylan Cousins is 7.7%. So sooner or later, they'll start falling if they continue to push, and play the way they can. They can get the double digits, and they will start falling. So, but you're right though. Maybe Quinn has to make a slight adjustment. Maybe I got to get a little dirtier in front of the net. Maybe I have to go up there a little further, get a little more aggressive, and you'll get those. And
that's the thing. I'm not saying get in front of the net, when Tage Thompson's shooting one-timers, because, that 105 mile an hour shot, I don't think I'm getting in front of that either, that's almost a death sentence. From the corner?
Yeah. No, thank you.
Oh, but no.
Yeah, well, we'll get to the other one from yesterday, but that was, and they will start falling. So I'm not overly concerned yet about it. I mean, I'm sure Chad would agree. If you look analytically, you'll say, the regression to the mean, or whatever you want to call it, right? Or play to the back of your card, right? Is sooner or later, these guys, the goals and the numbers are going to start falling, as long as they continue playing this way.
Well, like we said a couple weeks ago, and I hate referring back to it, like we talked about with Dylan Cousins. Lindy Ruff even said it. These guys are playing the way that they're supposed to be playing, as long as they continue playing the hard-nosed hockey.
Yep.
Things are going to start to fall. They're going to start to build a little bit more confidence once, if Jack Quinn scores, a goal, because you saw it, what was it? I don't want to call it his rookie year, but I think it was 2022. He scored 1 or 2 goals, and then all of a sudden you started seeing him, start putting him in, and that was the whole unfortunate thing, because that next summer he did whatever he did to his Achilles, and then it was just he came back, started kind of rebuilding, and then he had the other injury, the other lower body injury. So I don't know. I just it kind of. These guys just got to continue to play, keep playing together, keep going. Let's. I'll let you kind of go through the Canucks game a little bit here.
Sure.
From yesterday. So, what did you see from that specifically? Because I already touched on the stuff that I said. I really think that think that it's unfortunate the Sabres did not win that game yesterday as hard as they played.
Yeah. I think we didn't dominate quite as much the way we did Minnesota. In that sense, but I agree with you. I mean, we got the 1-0 lead, and here's another. Listen, Bowen Byram, again, a guy that I feel like as soon as I called him out, He's been playing much, much better. So, and even defensively, he's playing a little bit better. So, if this is the Bowen Byron we're going to get, I could live with it. And then the Canucks got, the next, second period goal. It's 1-1 after two. You're like, okay, it is what it is. But then it just, did you see the goal? I don't know if it was Suter that scored it, but it was a blocked shot, right, from the top. And the puck bounced off the guy, went way over, right? And I think Suter was streaking down, gave him a one-on-one breakaway on UPL. Like, what are the? I mean, just bad puck luck, right? It just, I mean, great block shot by the guy from Vancouver, right? He really gave up his body for it, but it's almost like he angled it that way, right? It's almost like he kicked it without. He didn't kick it, but it's just it worked. It couldn't work out any better.
Right.
It was a bad break for UPL and the Sabres because it gave them a breakaway, but yet again, despite it being 3-1, you're like, okay, let's go the exits. The Sabres, typical Sabres, good trip. They're just going to lay down here against the Vancouver Canucks. Dylan Cousins gets his fifth, right? And then Alex Tuck, just a little over a minute later, ties it at 3, and you can just feel the energy. And Zach Benson, once again, making things happen. Zach Benson had two assists. He had an excellent game in this game. He's just a guy that, Matt, he doesn't even need to score, and I think he can make a good impact in a game. He's only 19. I'm telling you right now, I'll say this right on the air. It's going to be about 2 or 3 years from now. You're going to see his numbers triple from what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
If he continues to do this, but he's doing he plays well beyond his years. Lindy loves him.
I mean, look at we talked about. We talked about him last week. Is he already knows how to play that gritty style, grind it out, type of game where he goes in the corners. He keeps the puck, and I'm not saying he holds onto the puck too long. He keeps the puck. He has puck control and puck possession in the right spots, and he's able to go get puck possession and able to deal. And we made the joke, you see him in Gretzky's office last a couple times. And, but it's serious, though, is Zach Benson plays the right style of hockey for what this team needs. And, the Sabres, I was talking about it with somebody yesterday or a couple nights ago. I think it was during the Wild game. And I think I was at DePaulo's that night, and we were talking about it. And he even said, he goes, they might not be the Sabres might not be the fastest team, but I go, with a Lindy Ruff coach team, they will be the hardest working though.
Yes, they definitely. Our speed has gotten better. I mean, we're not.
Oh, it has. Fastest, no, it has.
I agree with you. I agree. I think there's that balance that we're seeing of the little things that this team is starting to do. And again, remember we said early on, you got to give this 20 or something games, and here we are, right? But we still got to give them more. It's still going to take longer to even do the things that.
I mean, you got to give it 82 games. You got to give it the full season. Yeah. Like, obviously, we'll check back. We check back in every single week. We got 3 more games this week, I think. Before Saturday, but we'll give like another 20 game check in. I mean, because they've played 23 games right now. The Sabres are on the Sabres. Yes, they got to get a little tick better as far as points per game. If they're going to make the playoffs and end this drought, but they're 1 point above right now. They've played 23 games. They have 24 points.
Yep.
They're 5 points away from Florida being who's the number 1 team in the standings.
Yep.
In the Atlantic. I'm sorry. Not in the entire standings. That's held for New Jersey. But I mean, here's the other thing. Let's talk about this for a second with New Jersey, real quickly. What was the thing that we talked about that Lindy Ruff was always clamoring for in New Jersey?
What was he clamoring for in New Jersey?
Goaltending.
Oh yes, he did get Markstrom.
They got Markstrom, and now they are back to being the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference.
Yep. Yeah, and the other thing with the Devils too, they had a lot of bad breaks with the injuries too last year.
No, they did, but they got an elite goaltender.
Yeah, that's what they desperately needed. The Devils were trying to get by with Vanacek and in Akiri Schmidt. It's just backups in this league at best, right? And now, like you said, they have that absolute guy that you could depend on for at least 55, 60 games. And they have a good veteran, Jake Allen, as the other backup.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Saber killer, Jake Allen.
Yeah. Yep.
That guy is not one of the best goaltenders I've seen or anything like that. He's not even like one of the. I wouldn't put him in the top 50 of goaltenders I've seen, in the NHL. And he, for whatever reason, plays like the best goaltender you've ever seen when he plays against the Sabres. For whatever reason, I don't get it.
Totally.
And that dates back to when he was with the Blues, with the Canadians. Just absolutely weird situation there. But real quickly, so just to kind of go down the standings, Atlantic Division that the Sabres are in: Florida 29, Toronto 28, Tampa Bay 26. And then you got the wild card, which the Sabres are 1 point out with 1 game in hand. Against the Flyers, the Rangers have 1 game in hand against the Sabres. The Flyers and Rangers both have 25 points. The Sabres have 24. And the Sabres have 8 wins in regulation. Because that's also important too along the way. And the Sabres actually have 2 games in hand on Boston as well, who has 25 points and one point against this, 1 point ahead of the Sabres there as well for that wild card spot. But again, the Sabres, even if you get 2 points out of that, if everything were to stay the same, and the Sabres had 2 games left and Boston was done, and the Sabres got 2 points out of that, they're making the playoffs over top of Boston.
Yep.
Just saying.
100%.
So I mean, what do we got going?
We're 6-3-1 in our last 10. So I mean, again, we got to remember we started 1-4, folks. I mean, you may say, 11, 10-2. Not we're just middling the road, but to just do the math. I mean, we've basically been 10-6-2 in our last. That's very solid. You do that again, we go 10-6 again. In our next 16, let's do the math on our record again, and we're 6 or 7 games over. Now we're starting to look like a playoff team. So. Like you said,
you said over the last 16 or last 18, they were 10-6-2.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's think about that for a second. They're right now they're 11, 10, and 2. Right?
Yep.
So if let's just take the next 18 game situation, if they go 10-6-2, that's 22 points, another 22 points. That puts the Sabres at 21, 16-4. Right?
Yeah.
So that now gives you 22 points. You're now at 46 points. You're basically halfway there to 92 points.
Yep.
At basically almost the halfway mark of the season.
Yep. Hey, just another sport. The old great Yankee announcer John Sterling used to always say, "You win 3 out of every 5 games of baseball, you're almost a 100-win team." Think about it.
Yeah,
right. 3
absolutely.
of 5 doesn't seem like it's such a big deal, but when you stack that up over the whole season, right? Like, wow, we're almost a 100-win team. We're great, but you lose 2 out of 5 times. So you got to really, it's all about perspective, and that's why I like what we do, how we look at things in weeks and even as we get to December. So we do have a busy week coming up. We, between this Saturday and next Saturday, we got 4 games, so we got a busy schedule coming up.
What do we got? We have
today. I got 2 words for you. I got 2 words for you, Matt.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm going to do it. Oh, yes, I am.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Do it.
Hudson Fashing. I just wanted to see your face.
Breaks my heart. It breaks my heart, man.
I'm trying to exercise the demon of Hudson Fashing for the Islanders, right?
It just seems like ever since the there's some way, shape, or form that he comes back to kill the Sabres, whether it's a big hit or the kicking the puck in the net. And I will still say to this day that goes right up there with maybe not no goal 1, but definitely no goal 2 because
it's in that realm. Yeah, it is.
But
the Islanders are a team. Listen, you know what their record is? They are 8-10-6. That's 6. They haven't been a very good team. Their offense has been they've gotten shut out a few times this year, but this is the kind of team I feel like the Sabres, sometimes you're uncomfortable playing the Islanders. They play a boring style. They're not very exciting. The Sabres just have to stay within themselves and grind out this W. Can't be
They have
pretty
to
against the
basically
Islanders.
play like they did against They got to play the last 2 games against the Islanders. Maybe not so many chances. Maybe not take so many chances, but
Yeah.
still play that high flying. Push against the defense and everything like that, where you're putting pressure on them. Play that puck control game. Because the Islanders' offense, they're not going to be able to score more than 2 or 3 goals at the very most. But they got a goaltender back there
tonight.
that, absolutely it is.
You get a W tonight and a clean one. If we can get a regulation win, again, that's just another team that's muddled in that mix. And if we could just get up, we'll get up on them by 5 points already. Mm-hmm. Which would be, and we got a game in hand with the Islanders. So that, again, you're just setting yourselves up for success as we go into December. I think December is like moving month. This is where you start seeing teams really start making a little bit more of a move, right?
I think that's more January. Honestly, I think that's more January, right. But because you got the All-Star break coming up or Olympic break coming up in February. I'm not saying it's Olympics this year. That's not what I said. But you have those little bit of breaks there in February. So I think December is that month where you're just you're building your team. Mm-hmm. You're finding out who you are, not necessarily who you are, but because you should already know that. But like you're just trying to keep the current pace. And then January hits, and that's when you start to make your move. It's almost like a long distance runner, right? Where you're waiting for that first perfect time to kick, while everybody else might be doing it in December. Once January hits, mid-January hits, you're pushing, you're making that kick, and getting into the All-Star break, getting into the Olympic break, getting into your 1 week break that they make you take. So and then you're pushing,
Well, it's funny. I'm just looking at the December schedule. I mean, not to get way ahead. After tonight, Sabres have a 5-game homestand to start the month. They got 14 games in December, right? Mm-hmm. So that 5-game homestand, that's going to be pretty big. I mean, again, it's still early, but after 14 games, we're talking almost half the season when we kick off 2025. I can't even believe it's going to be 2025, but it's. So you're getting to that point. So after those 5 games, then we got some road trips and the games get tougher. Mm-hmm. So, but as we get past the Islanders this week, we got some interesting teams coming in. Colorado's coming in on December 3rd. Obviously,
the return of Casey Middlestat.
Oh, that's right. The return. Well, does he get a tribute video? Probably about 3 seconds. I'm being funny, but no, I'm sure.
Hold on. Let's be serious. He did score Rick Jeanneret's last call.
That is, what? That is true. That is true. And I would like to see the Sabres play that on the screen when Casey comes back.
As the Sabres win.
No, but you know how they say "Welcome back, Casey Middlestat"?
Yeah, I know.
And I would like to hear Rick's voice on that last call. I think that'd be a really cool moment to kind of honor Rick. Rick's always going to be a legend with the Sabres, but you know what I mean? Just I think that's
real
something
quick.
I'm sure sticks in his heart too.
Real quick though, going to that with the Casey Middlestat thing with that goal, do you remember what happened about 30 seconds prior, maybe a minute prior?
Maybe when you tell me, I'll remember.
Patrick Kane rang one off the post. He could have had Rick Jeanneret's last call.
That's
Buffalo
right.
born boy could have had Jeanneret's last call.
Yep. Yeah. But I'm glad
then the Sabres end up pulling it out. Yeah. Oh, I absolutely too. Like I get it, but I mean, it would have meant something too, because it's like, okay, cool. Sabres lost, but Patrick Kane literally scored Rick Jeanneret's last call, and then we all know what happened about 6-8 months later. So
yeah, my whole favorite part of the Jeanneret tribute was when I think we played Nashville or something. We beat them, and he came down on the ice, and all the players were there. Dahlin's kind of escorting them, and all the pit. That was my favorite RJ.
Yeah,
that was. Yeah, I still get chills thinking about it. It was. It was amazing. I mean, we were so blessed with Rick Jeanneret.
I mean, we were very blessed both ways for both teams. You had Van Miller, and then
Yep.
You had Rick
Jeanneret.
Jeanneret,
Yep.
and
And you know
then
what? Let's give a shout out to Dan Dunleavy. I like Dunleavy personally. I think he does a nice job. He's a good man. I think he's a
yeah.
very and that's a hard act to follow for anybody.
Oh,
So, but I think he's
yeah.
done an admirable job. So,
Yeah, no, he's done a great job. I mean, he has Rob Ray there with him. The nice thing that
yeah,
I did like that they did is kind of acclimate Dan Dunleavy. They would give him games, give Jeanneret games, things like that.
yeah,
Kind of go in that that multiple goalie situation there in the announcers
there you
room.
go. There you go.
But no, I mean, it allowed the Sabres fans to kind of get used to his voice, and it wasn't just a hey, we're Rick Jenneret's retiring now. Let's bring in Dan Dunleavy. I think that would have killed it. I think that would have been like this is ridiculous. This is not what we wanted or anything like that. So and that's nothing on Dan Dunleavy. It truly isn't. But we are gonna miss those calls. Whether it's La 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 Fontaine, whether it's that
the
or
best. There's so many.
Call a cop, he robbed him blind, or we are not worthy, or any of the great calls.
How about this? How about fa la 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 during Christmas?
That's yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was peeking ahead at our schedule too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hoping to see something better in this, and I'll explain what I'm getting at. So after we play Colorado, we have a juggernaut coming to town. That's the Winnipeg Jets. So this is going to be but I was looking at their schedule. I was looking at Winnipeg. I was trying to see if there was a back-to-back, or maybe we see a return of Eric Comrie in that for the Jets. But they play Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So there is a shot that we do see. I wonder if they will give Comrie to start because he played for the Sabres. Sometimes teams do that, right? Maybe depending on how they're doing. So maybe we see Comrie in a game. Maybe we don't see Hellebuck, who's been the best goalie in the league this year, by a good margin. I mean, Hellebuck's incredible this year. He is.
Oh my God! Yeah, he is.
Winnipeg in general has surprised everybody. I mean, a lot of people thought they were going to regress, but yet they have some great players. Scheifele's been great, and Kyle Connor. That's going to be a fun game. A big test for us, too, to see how we stack up against the Winnipeg Jets going forward. And then next Saturday, we have a matinee, but we'll be back here, and that's the Utah Hockey Club coming in on Saturday. So we got some...
that is a matinee. That is a 1 p.m. game, and I'm excited because, we get to do our show at 10 a.m., and then
nice.
we run the 10 a.m. One of the next couple of weeks, we will be having Pat Moran on to speak or talk about hockey with us. His show Talking Buffalo, and is on almost every day, if not every day.
Awesome.
Definitely tune into him, but we'll definitely get him on to talk some Sabres as well.
Great.
They do have some big games coming up this week. I'm glad we're talking about now. Let me ask you a question real quick, Brian. As we get closer and closer to the middle part of the season or anything like that, and I don't know how to specifically ask this, but do you feel a more sense of urgency for the Sabres to get something done before January, as far as on the trade front?
Yes. Well, kind of. Yes. I mean, again, the hardest part about the trades are the no movement clauses, right? The no movement clauses and the cap. Right now, the good news is for the Sabres, and I'm going to just pivot to this. I mean, you've heard some rumblings about the New York Rangers. They have been struggling, right? And they've talked about maybe even moving off of Chris Kreider, who's a player I would love on this team. 33 years old. He's a leader. He's a get in the front kind of guy. He gets the dirty work. I mean, I think he'd be an amazing addition to these young players.
Yeah,
but he's got a 15-team no movement clause. Is he going to want to come to the Buffalo Sabres? That's the question we don't know, right? And what's it going to take to get a Chris Kreider? Do you match the money? Now, the Sabres have that flexibility, which, I remember in the offseason, I was arguing with some Sabre fans. They're like, oh, we should go sign Patrick Laine for $6-7 million. I'm like, no. Leave the cap room, right? Give yourself that flexibility. Let's see what some of these young guys can do. Right? Give them the breathing room. Give them the ability to play those top minutes, right? And then if we start winning games, we can then package some of those players to
Yeah.
get that player, and then we have the cap room to make it happen. We don't have those
Right.
roadblocks.
Well, here's the other
like Toronto
question.
wants to make a move. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Who are they moving? They're capped to
Right,
the max.
exactly.
Like,
What are they going
they
to do?
have to
Move Nylander, move Matthews,
yeah,
move,
like,
you
yeah.
know.
Good luck, right?
But here's my question. So are you, like, I know that everybody hates the word rental, but
Yeah.
are we looking for more because, you know, we know that or are of the understanding through Darren Drager, through Elliot Friedman, everything like that. We're of the understanding that you're probably going to see the cap go to $95 to $98 million after this year. So that's what, another $8 million out of the cap potentially, $9 million out of the cap potentially.
Yep.
Where the Sabres are already what, 7.5 million under, 8 million under right now. So you're talking, you know, and they have basically everybody signed at this point.
Pretty much.
You know, and so there's really not much that they have to do. So are we looking for more somebody with term? Or
potentially,
in your opinion, or are we looking more for somebody that's a, you know, not, I don't want to necessarily say a 1-year rental, because you could always turn around and re-sign them to a lesser of a deal or anything like that if they want to stay or anything.
Yeah.
But are you of the mind, if you're Kevin Adams, I need to get something done with a guy that maybe doesn't have, you know, more than 1 year on his deal, because we need to break this drought this year. We need to prove that, you know, I'm keeping my job. Not saying that he's on the hot seat in any way, shape, or form. I'm not saying that whatsoever, but you're gonna start to see, you know, fans get really upset if it moves to 14 years. If it doesn't happen this year, especially with as well as that they're playing right now, if they have another, you know, off the cliff moment in January where they just, so do we move somebody now or get somebody in here now rather than wait? And then on top of that too, is it more of a 1-year rental type player, or is it more, you know, somebody that's, you know, 25, 26, 27 years old that has a little bit of term on their deal?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, Kevin Adams has to be feeling the pressure. I guess this is the question we don't know is are Kevin Adams and Lindy Ruff a package deal at this point, right? Does Kevin Adams have 2 years? We don't know what Pegula's thinking in terms of this right now. Now, Kevin Adams, the last couple of years, the Sabres have been better. We've been knocking on the door for the playoffs. We haven't been, we're not a train wreck by any stretch of the imagination, right? So, but how much is there an ultimatum? Is it playoffs or nothing for Kevin Adams? How much do you give up to get a rental? I'm not sure if we're in a rental phase right now, Matt, because we're still kind of muddled in this playoff race.
I'm not necessarily saying rental though.
No, but I think it's interesting you brought that up. But I would say, let's say we go in the next 25 games, we go, let's say 18-7, right? Let's say we're really buzzing and we're absolutely in the playoffs, right? It's looking like, hey, we're in. Then I'm okay with a rental, because then you're like adding something when you're not going to give up one of your top prospects. You know, we're not going to give up, you know, Consta Huselius. We're not giving up Rosen. We're not giving up those guys, right? So if we're giving up one of those guys, then we're looking for term, right? You want experience, but like Chris Kreider's got 3 years, right, on his contract. If I could get 3 years out of Chris Kreider, I'm okay with giving up a guy like an Isaac Rosen or even a Krebs, believe it or not. Like that, I'm okay with that. And if we give up a first-round pick, so be it. Because we're going to make the playoffs, then we're not worried about that pick. We have plenty of prospects. I mean, we have prospects coming out of our eyes at this point.
That brings me to another question for you. Out of your what you feel is maybe doing a trade now to, like, and that's kind of like the whole, you know, balance thing is you do a trade now and then that changed the, I don't want to say necessarily change the culture, but that's you know, now we're 7-18, you know, going into February, and it's like, okay, we made a trade, we tried, but rather than, you know, this team now, is there a point in your mind that's too late to make a trade?
Well, obviously you would rather maximize your value now, right? I mean, rentals will happen later at the trade deadline. Now you're looking for players that probably will have an impact for more than 1 year, right? At this point, but you're probably going to pay more now too. So it's all about that balance of. And when do teams want to start cutting bait, right, Matt? I mean, who's really out of the playoff race right now?
Right.
Now the team we're playing tonight,
Eastern Conference, nobody.
Yep. Now the team we're playing tonight, the Islanders are starting to get to that point, in my opinion, where if they start losing games, right, they're an older team. You got guys like Kyle Palmieri. He's an interesting example, but all these guys again. The Islanders are loaded with these no trades. Again, these things are very, very complicated, right? Even guys like Anthony Duclair, you have to be traded with. They can't trade it without approval, right? I'm looking at their sheet right now. I mean, they got some injuries, but they have a lot of veteran guys that maybe the Sabres will be interested in. But will they move? That's the question, and that's got to be the frustrating part for Kevin Adams and all the GMs in the league.
But that's the thing. That's the thing, though. If I'm sitting there and I have basically like the makings of the deal, and they're hemming and hawing about it, I'm probably going to throw in a 2026 first round pick or something like that to be like, hey, does this entice you anymore? Let's get this done. I'm trying to bring in a player here or there. We have all these pieces. I don't want to like destroy the future. But also, too, I may not have a future in 2026, so let me, I can always go back and maybe get a first-round pick in 2026 if needed, by trading an asset that is going to leave anyways, like you did with Taylor 100%. Hall. Or,
and you know what this may come down to, Matt, is the other GM on the other side. Are they in their first season, right? Mm-hmm. Did they just get, like, I think with the Flyers have Danny Briere now, isn't he kind of running the show there? He just started, right? So maybe now the Flyers probably aren't selling, but what I'm saying is maybe Briere would be like, hey, maybe he's thinking, I'm making a move. My job isn't on the line, so I'm not going to be afraid to do that, right? Where Adams' job is on the line, but what if he's dealing with another GM where his job's on the line, and they're thinking, oh, we still got to try to make the playoffs. So that's why it's so delicate right now to find that match. I think we got to allow probably another few weeks to see if there's a separation in the standings where the players that Adams may be targeting would be available to.
Also, too, Jeff Merrick's an idiot.
Yeah.
Did you see that stuff? Oh, Owen Power's names are in rumblings. Shut up, dude. Like it was literally probably like the GM calling, "Hey, is Owen Power available?" Nope. Goodbye. Okay. Well, his name got mentioned. Like, cool.
If Owen Power is in trade rumblings, then I'm big game hunting for a guy like Brady Tkachuk. Yeah, I'm just going to put it out there. Like,
absolutely.
If you're telling me Brady Tkachuk, if you're telling me Owen Power, I'll trade 4 pieces of Owen Power for Brady Tkachuk, by the way. Brady Tkachuk puts at the top. No, I'm telling you, man. You put him on this roster with these young guys. Oh, I'm telling you right now. I think we have said, I don't want to trade in Owen Power. I really don't. But you got to give something up to get something. If you're telling me,
and I get that, but you need to bring. You need to bring in something else with Brady Tkachuk for, like, if it was a 1-to-1 deal, maybe, okay, sure. You go out and maybe trade a first-round pick or something else for another defenseman or, whatever. But
You're right.
If it's going to be Owen Power and picks, you need to get at least that guy you were going to go maybe out and trade for, like I don't know the Senators' defense core right now. Off the top of my head, I'd have to look it up, but you'd have to get somebody maybe not, on the level of an Owen Power, maybe more on the level of a Bryson or a Gilbert or anybody like that you can fill in there, because if you trade an Owen Power, you're probably moving everybody up one spot. Gilbert getting that 6th defenseman now, are going to become the 6th defenseman, so you need somebody to replace that, or turn around and make it a hockey deal. It's 2 for 2, or you get Tkachuk and let's play a game real quick here.
Okay.
Beyond here. Hold on one second. Let's see here. Ottawa Senators here. Let's see what their roster looks like. NHL roster. There we go. All right. So we have Bernard Docker, you have Thomas Chabot, you have Travis Harmonic, you have Nick Jensen, you have Tyler Klevin, you have Jake Sanderson, and you have Donovan Sabrango.
Oh,
First and foremost, I would give anything to get Sanderson on this team. That's first and foremost. I would do some sort of like Kachuk and Sanderson for Owen Power, Isaac Rosen, 2 firsts.
Jack
like, I'm
Quinn,
not even
because he's an Ottawa kid, so you can get him back to Ottawa. There you go.
But I mean, I'm being serious. Like, if you could go acquire, and that might be a little nostalgia for me. But in all seriousness, Jacob is a very, very good hockey player, and if you could pair him with somebody like a Dahlin or a Bowen Byram, I think that would be amazing.
Yep. Now, interesting little thing about Brady Tkachuk.
Yeah,
it's very much like Eichel. Do you remember when Eichel's no movement clause was going to kick in? And the same, remember we were saying, we can move him now because there's no. Next year, Brady Tkachuk has a no movement clause that kicks in 2025, 2026. So this year, he can be traded anywhere. Yeah. So if the Ottawa Senators were ever thinking about saying, you know what, man, I want to. I mean, I still don't think they should do it. If I'm Brady Tkachuk, I got to get 5 pieces. I got to get a tremendous offer for Brady Tkachuk, right? Mm-hmm. But if they're going to think about it, this is the year to do it. If they do fall in the standings, right, you're going to hear those rumors just because of that restriction being there. Teams will be lined up. 30 teams will try to go after him. I'm telling you right now. Every team in this league will, even Florida, they'll try to get the brothers united, right? They'll all try to get Brady Tkachuk. So it would be a free for all. Like Ottawa would basically have to pick what they want, but just something to keep an eye on.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, let's just real quick recap the week. We got tonight's game, 7:30 tonight, Islanders Sabres, in Long Island or Brooklyn or wherever the hell they play right now.
They're back on the island now. They got the new arena out there.
No, I know they are. I was just being a little facetious, but
I know.
Then on Tuesday 7 p.m. you have the Avalanche coming to town. You have on Thursday, December 5th, 7 p.m. you have the Jets coming to town. That's the Winnipeg Jets against the Buffalo Sabres. And then you have next Saturday, 1 p.m. you have the Utah Hockey Club, formerly the Arizona Coyotes, coming into Buffalo, and we'll be
formerly the
Winnipeg
Jets.
About that. Yeah.
Right?
We'll be. Yeah, so we have the former Winnipeg Jets, former Arizona Cardinals or Arizona Coyotes, Phoenix Coyotes, whatever you want to call them, and now the Utah Hockey Club right after the Winnipeg Jets coming into town. Yeah. But no, we'll be talking about that game specifically next Saturday before that game starts. Brian, if I was to ask you again, like I do, we have 3 games before next Saturday. What are your predictions as far as points go?
Got to get tonight. I'm going to tell you that right now. We got to win tonight, and I think we do win tonight. I think the Sabres win tonight against the Islanders. I know it's a 3-4. I don't like the schedule, quote, gods this week. Last couple weeks with these 3-4s. But I think we could do it. Colorado, Winnipeg, I'm hoping for a split there. If you give me a split, I'll sign up for it. If you give me 2, and that's what I'm going to go with, I think we get one of the 2, probably Colorado. Colorado is a mess in goal. They just traded their backup for Scott Wedgwood this morning. They're trying. Georgiev's goals against, I believe, is almost in the mid-4s. I mean, he is terrible this year.
Wow.
So they're a mess. I mean, they've been in the John Gibson rumors now for a while with Anaheim. I mean, Colorado.
With as good as their team is, they need to do something, man.
But they've had injuries though. Landeskog's been out. Nishkinen's been out. They just got back Lehkonen. Like they got some holes in their roster. You look at some of the guys and look at some of their forwards. I mean, they got. I think Russ Colton's out. Like they got some guys out. So, I think it's an opportunity. I mean, the great Nathan McKinnon is always an animal. He's a beast, and so. But hopefully, we get 2 out of 3. What about you?
Yeah. I'm of the same mind. I think you have to get 2 out of 3. I think you cannot get any less than 4 points, and that's more where I was going with that question. Is I think you have to get minimum 4 points, whether that's 2-0-2, whether that's 0-4, whether whether that but there's some combination. You have to get 4 points this week in those 3 games between the Islanders, the Avalanche, and the Jets. And then we'll worry about the Utah next Saturday. But what is your score prediction for tonight before we get out of here, Brian?
We're going to get a 4-2 win tonight. I think we get it done. I think Reimer does enough to keep us in the game. And I'm going to go with the Jack Quinn game winner. He's due. I'm telling you, he's due. I'm going with it. And that's where I stand.
I actually have the Islanders winning this game 3-2.
Oh, just if you tell me Hudson Fashion game winner, I don't know.
No, I don't think it's anything weird like that. But I might have to buy a new TV for with it being Black Friday weekend.
Hey, you got some good deals. Yeah.
Real quickly, because it almost happened yesterday when I was flipping between the Sabres and the Chiefs game. Because we all, as Bills fans, want the Chiefs to lose so the Bills can get the number 1 spot. But absolutely, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that for a while, is that call, no call, whatever happened there as far as the false start compared to the illegal shift. They're blowing the play dead already. Even before the ball was clearly recovered, which I understand, but they're blowing the play dead. Like, the play's dead. Like, you can't say, oh, no, because it's an illegal shift, we're going to continue the play on moving even after we've blown the whistle and everybody stopped moving. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Got it. Not saying the NFL's rigged, but, maybe it's time for some full-time officials like we got in hockey. But with that, I agree. With that being said, we want to thank all of our sponsors here. Elliott Apollo's, 3785 South Park Avenue, Blaisdell, New York, 14219. Definitely stop down there. Get the do combo that we talked about last week with the pizza that I did the half and half. And the student wings, which are absolutely amazing. We call it the do combo. With that being said, W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions, Fat Boy Surf Club, Fubo TV, Sons of Erie, Beauty Pools, Beauty Pools, Kayak Pools, Hamburg Brewing, and CX Chronicles. We want to thank everybody for watching us this morning, getting up with us, on this holiday weekend, and go Sabres. We definitely are enjoying that. And Brian, any final thoughts here before we get out of here?
No,
and before I click on the music this week.
Yep, go Sabres. Let's get it done. Let's get the win on the island. Have a good weekend, everyone.